Hello and welcome to Now is the Time. I'm so excited to have Lewis Herms today on the program today. He's an amazing man. He's got a organization called ScrewBigGov, and he's also running for California governor. And there's so many different things across the nation that are happening. And Lewis is somebody that's been standing up for a long time with the Truth Tour, the Unity Tour, number of other things. So we're going to have a deep dive on a number of subjects today. But before we do that, today's program is sponsored by Mike Lindell and My Pillow. Let's roll that commercial,
I
please.
hear every day about the products you all wish My Pillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Yeah, so if you go to mypillow.com and put in my promo code Meri, Meri, right in the middle of America, you'll get a significant discount. It will help you and it will also help me. I mean, his products are great. He doesn't just have pillows. You heard everything he has. And
I'm like, wow, he keeps adding this stuff. It's amazing.
I know. I interviewed him in DC, back in 2020, when I was there for the Stop the Steal rally, and he was there right in the Washington Mall, and I got to interview him. And, I'm from Minnesota, and of course he's from there. That's where My Pillow is. And so he's a true patriot. And so we really try to honor people like Mike and purchase, a lot of our things there, and they're great prices, and he gives you a great discount. So mypillow.com, promo code Meri, or click on the link below. Anyway, Lewis, a lot's going on. I know I saw you just a few weeks ago. We were up in Northern California. They had a rally for you up there, and things are ramping up. I mean, people are, so many people, Lewis, have said, well, when is something going to happen? What is your response to that?
Yeah, well, first I always look and I say this is God's timing, not ours. So we have to understand that, because we've been under tyranny for probably a couple thousand years. Really, it's been a long, long time of tyranny. So, in order to snap out of it, this is not going to happen over a weekend. So, we always have to be patient, and things have to roll out at a certain level, because I really do believe if everything dropped at the one time, you would have complete anarchy. You'd have cities burning down, people going crazy. It would just be too much to take in. But I see a lot going on, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit cuckoo, but I mean, when we're indicting, like James Comey and Letitia James and John Bolton, and looking at James Brennan now, and I'm just like, this is amazing. We're starting to see the ball moving, and locally we're seeing a lot of action where people are getting arrested, and I've noticed that here's a huge trend of pedophiles in government being taken down, and that is beautiful. So I see a lot of things going on, and I'm getting reports, like I'd say silent reports, that we're actually saving a lot of kids from trafficking also, which I think is phenomenal. I can't personally verify those, but them come from credible sources that's what we're doing also. So I think things are looking amazing. There's a lot going on. I frankly think
I do too. And I know that you're one of your number one things that you're standing on is fighting against child sex trafficking. And when I came back in 2017 from Thailand after bringing a videographer and a team to expose some of the things happening in Bangkok and Pattaya, and it's the number one sex tourist destination in the world. When I got back, and many people know this on my channel, but I heard God say, I don't want you to do this about overseas. I want you to show what's happening here. And so when I went down the rabbit hole and started really seeing that there's over 1 million children missing, and the CPS and the judges and the corruption going on. I mean, it's huge here. And people kind of say, oh, that's overseas. It's not here. And no, it's here. And they're grooming your children in a number of fronts. So why don't you chat a little bit about the trafficking and why you really started getting interested in that? How long ago did God start highlighting that to you, Lewis?
Well, I probably over a decade ago, I started learning about it, and then when I had some downtime during COVID, it was I really started to dig in. And what happened, what the main catalyst was, so I would talk about it. I would mention other podcasts, and I would ask them, "Why aren't you saying anything? This should be the primary issue." And I believe this whole thing is about saving the children. So what happened though is I was at the 2022, I believe it was, the election count. No, I'm sorry, it was the 2020. Wow, it was the election count in Maricopa, Arizona. And I don't know why I was called there. I brought a whole bunch of our ScrewBigGov family there, and I started to notice some anomalies. But then when we went back to the park where people were organizing, I started to have some conversations, and it was one conversation after another. And I said, oh, God's talking to me right now. He was putting all these people in front of me that had child trafficking stories. And I said, what do I need to do? And it's like, it's time for a documentary. That's what I got. So I started gathering that information, and I understood that child trafficking was such a big deal worldwide that I really believe that people would not be able to assimilate the information if I did a worldwide child trafficking report. And the reason why is because they would just say, well, it's over there, or it's there, or it's not here. It doesn't
Mhm.
affect us. So I said, okay, I'm going to focus on one place. So I just focused on Arizona. That's it. And it was so massive of what we were uncovering just in Arizona that it made a big impact. And that's where my movie Cages came from. And ever since then, it's been on my heart to keep pushing and keep pushing on this.
Well, and like a lot of people, it's hard to listen to this, but they're grooming the children through the media. And that's why it's so important that we take back the media. I mean, you look at Disney and you look at all their LGBT ideologies now that they're putting in there and in cartoons. I mean, you can even let your kids or grandkids watch little cartoons. I know that Landon, my little 6-year-old grandson said, I guess to my daughter Christina, he said, "Mom, why did SpongeBob kiss Star Patrick?" It's like I'm going like, "What?" This is just ludicrous. I mean, how would anybody want to do that? But it's Luciferian and it's satanic, and they want to do this. It's about grooming the children, and this is what Hitler did. He knew he had to get to the youth, and you've been standing up for the youth and raising your voice against this stuff. And this is our number one, I believe, thing that God wants us to do is stand for the children. And so, what have you seen since you've been, really promoting this agenda and really raising an alarm about it? What difference have you seen?
Well, I've seen both actually. I've been disappointed a lot. I've been disappointed that because it seems like the podcasters, many of them, not all of them, use the child trafficking conversation to build their channels and then completely abandoned it. And I've called them out a couple times, and that's been very, very frustrating to me. Um, I I've been I don't know if I was surprised or amazed, but it's amazing how high up it goes and the protections that these have. And I'll give you an example. In LA County, there's a judge that actually has so many cases that he's trying to approve a gender transfer on children that are under 7 years old. But then if you look into his background, he actually is part of an organization, a president of an organization that's what they advocate for. So that's where the disappointments come because it's just so deep and so dark. Now, what I'm excited about is 4 or 5 years ago when I had this conversation with people on the streets, it was no, it doesn't exist. They cover their ears. They're like, I don't know, you're crazy. And now they're like, I know it's a thing. It's a thing. and we have to do something about it. So I believe we're in a transition that's just beautiful right now. I think more people are waking up to God, and I believe more people are waking up to the evils of the world too. And for the first time, I just said this yesterday, for the first time that I've seen in my whole life, I see many people starting to stand up and say, what can I do? And they're not looking to sit on the sidelines and have you do the work or me do the work, which I think is very exciting.
No, it is exciting because now it's in your face. And when President Trump came in, office in 2017, the first thing he did was put out an executive order about it. And I remember that's when in May of 2017, I was at UCLA doing an interview regarding this to a gal named Harmony that had been trafficked in LA at 13. Her mother left to Europe with her boyfriend and left her and her brother to fend for themselves. Of course, this was a responsibility at the highest degree to the mother, but there was somebody that was waiting in the wings that saw her at the grocery store and kind of lured her in and started eventually trafficking her. But as I interviewed her, and she now has an organization that she helps rescue these kids called Treasures, and because each child is a treasure. But as I just felt God say, just like you, I want you to do a documentary about this in America. And so I have my film called Freedom Cry that we're showing all over the country. And you basically been showing your film Cages and other things too. So it's a really big deal, and it's being at the highest levels of government now being exposed. And so this is exciting. So we're seeing a lot of things happen. Trump when he got in office, but you saw what they did. They started throwing lawfare at him. I mean, he was constantly with the Russia collusion and all these different lies that they came out with him. It was in the courts. It was lawfare. What do you say? I mean, what have you seen in the court system? Because justice has to prevail in that system at the highest levels of government in regards to the courts.
Yeah, I think our biggest issue that we have in this battle is the judiciary, frankly. I've seen many cases, legit cases that get thrown away. Well, here's a great example. So we have less than 2% of all cases that are generic cases that are put into the court system get kicked back on standing. They get rejected. Well, 100% of cases that were election fraud cases got kicked back on standing. So there's a massive level of corruption in our judiciary, and it's sick. And look at all the obstruction right now that Trump is going through trying to appoint judges, right? It's constant obstruction, because the parasites that run things, they know that if you get the correct judges in there, things are going to go the way they need to. So I believe we, the people, should be hyper focused on the judges and calling them out when they're not doing their job, because they're not just part of the problem, they're part of the system that puts our children in these spots. And it's the worst. But I'm glad you brought up the judges, because I think we ignore that, and that is probably the biggest obstruction of true justice that we have.
Well, and there's a big pay to play scheme when Bill Clinton put in the Adoption and Safe Families Act in the 90s. The whole CPS and the judges that weaponized it.
Oh
There's
yeah.
many people now in family court that are dealing with, they're getting their children taken away unlawfully. And every child they take out of the home, they get money. And a lot of these foster care families, there's a lot of good ones, but there's also a lot of bad ones. And there's a lot of good judges, but there's also a lot of bad judges. And so it's become almost like a mafia, so to speak. And a lot of the lawyers that are working, because it's under the bar, British accreditation registry. It's not even, they have to, I just talked to one of my friends, Tony Pellegrino, who actually has spoken at several of my Open the Heavens event. He's not a lawyer, but he knows as much as a lawyer, because he goes, they have to swear an oath to the bar. And so that's why you're having a lot of the problems right now, even with lawyers and judges. But that's being exposed, and that's going to come down. You're going to hear more about that in the coming weeks from me. So now in regards to the governor, When did you step into the race and why?
I stepped in it on June 2nd, which happened to be my birthday. And the reason why is so I had no intention of running. Mary, I don't like politics. Politics are dirty. I just don't like the way the game is played. It's just not. I like a level playing field, right? And it's just not. It's gross. It's really, really bad. So I had no intention of running. But what happened is I said, so let me see what candidates I could support. I already knew if they put a D next to their name. I'm not saying all Democrats are bad, but I knew they're already compromised. I know 80% of Republicans are generally compromised, and that's what's wrong with our two-party system, which I can go into later. But so I said, let me look at the Republicans, and I started to look at them, and I have to be honest, there's a lot of nice gentlemen in there. Some like really good patriots. You know, they're good people, right? So I didn't have an issue with that. But then I started looking at policies, and I was blown away that child trafficking was nowhere to be found or way down on the list of many of these people running. I thought that was fascinating to me. Didn't like that. And then I noticed the same thing about election fraud. And then when you're talking about the medical mafia, nobody was talking about the medical mafia. So I said, okay, I'm like, Lord, what am I going to do? And I thought for sure the answer is going to be the answer. Go make a documentary, travel California, expose this stuff, so on and so forth. I didn't get the answer right away, which is very odd. Usually God just says, okay, here you go. So I'm like, okay. So I went to sleep in the middle of the night. I was woken up with a dream, and I woke up and it was like, you're running for governor. And no, I'm not. I argued. I said, no, I'm not running for governor. He said, yep, you're running for governor. I'm like, oh, okay. What's that look like? He says, you need to be the disruptor. You need to go out there and disrupt things and expose things so people can see what's happening. And now it's turned into a really amazing, amazing campaign where we have an event coming up. We'll probably have over 1,000 people there. So it's beautiful. And I believe this is divine driven for whatever reason. It's where we're supposed to be at this time. And we have to make a difference for the children. Somebody has to be fighting for them at the highest possible level we can. So that's why I'm here today.
Well, in fact, I was at an event when you first announced it with Dr. Judy Mikovich. She's been, of course, a staunch, person that has stood up against the medical cartel. And she worked with Fauci years ago. So, as many of you guys remember, 5 years ago, I mean, it was crazy what happened. Everyone started, like you said, everybody had time to start watching like different YouTubes and things, and they all started waking up. And so, actually, as bad as 2020 and some of the things they did with the lockdowns, it really woke up a lot of people. But I was at that event because there was people speaking. Dave Bryan, actually the pastor of the Church of Glad Tidings, he's up north. He actually had a rally for you up there as well. I was at. So yeah, we were there, and all of a sudden you said, I've got a big announcement to make," and it was your birthday too, so we were celebrating. So that was a special night. So tell us about this rally coming up.
Yeah, so it's November 8th. So there's a big debate with all the conservatives on stage in the evening in November 8th. In the morning from 8 a.m. to 12, we're having a huge, huge rally with some awesome people there. And then I'll be going over some of my policies, so on and so forth. So we're gonna have music there. It's gonna be just incredible. It's in the same city as the debate, right? And it's free. So we'd love everybody to come over there. You'll be there. I have a list here of an incredible list here. Let me see where it is of just a few people that are going to be there. So I'll give you an idea. So Mark Messina will be there. Mark Abrams, Michael Jacob will be there. Michelle Peterson, which is awesome. Kathy O'Brien, Laura Worley, Joe Rosati, Mark Z, Scott Long. You will be there. Vem Miller, Deepak, Scott McKay, Adam Vina, Tom Kaz, Jeff Zink, Lance Shuttler, Bruce Poppy, just to name a few. And there's a bunch more coming on right now. I know we also have Dr. Layla Ali is there, and some other people that just have also given us confirmation. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's free. You know what I mean? Pretty much everything I've always done is free. So let's go there and have a great time. And then we'll talk about my candidacy for a bit there, and then we'll prepare for that debate the evening, which should be a lot of fun too.
Now, where can they go and find out more about that what website are you at? That they
So you
go?
can go to get RSVP at our event and to get tickets for the debate at hermsforcali.com. That's HERMSFORCALI.com. Just go to hermsforcali.com, click on events, and there's an event page that's all set up. And we do ask people to RSVP because we'll probably have over 1,000 people there, and it only takes about 1,000 people, so it is limited seating. So definitely want to go there and RSVP, and then you can. Right below that, you'll have an opportunity to buy tickets. There's 3 different type of tickets that you can buy for the debate. You can see Steve Hilton and all the other people that are debating, include myself.
That's going to be awesome. And also let me just ask a question, in regards to politics. There's so many pastors in particular that have said, oh, well, I don't, separation of church and state. I don't want to get involved politically, but we have to get involved politically. In fact, just this AB 495 bill that was passed in California. I know that you have something to say about that, which I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But I'm doing an event in San Francisco, which I'll talk about in a minute. But bottom line is, on the way back, I knew they were having a rally. Pastor Jack Hibbs, who's a Calvary Chapel pastor in Chino, California. And he pretty much started telling all of the people on his broadcast saying, if they pass this bill, you should move. You should get out of the state of California. And I was like, wow. So I went there and I did interviews on the stairs of the Capitol with Jack Hibbs, Pastor Jack Hibbs. And then there was Senator Shannon Grove. And then there was Rob McCoy. And Rob McCoy was the pastor of Godspeak in Newbury Park, California, in Ventura County. And I moved up to Thousand Oaks, 5 years ago. And I went to his church, the first night, November 2nd, the day before the election. And he had been mayor of Thousand Oaks for a while. And he was Charlie Kirk's pastor. In fact, he moved out to Arizona. He's kind of retired and gave the Godspeak Church to his son. But he spoke up and he said, no, we have to get involved politically. And it's very important. So what would you say to people that are watching, Lewis, that says, you know what? I'm just going to stay out of politics. It's dirty. I just want to kind of stay in my lane and just focus on Jesus or focus on building my business or whatever. What would you say to those people, Lewis?
Well, I would say, what would Jesus do? Jesus would be active. Jesus wouldn't be sitting on a bench somewhere waiting for things to happen. You know what I mean? And Jesus said, we're going to do things even better than he. So how do you do that? You don't do that by staying in your lane and staying separate. We need to get active. And I can go into the whole manipulation of the word meek, and the reality is meek is getting involved. It's not being passive. I'm frustrated that if I hear a pastor say you should leave California, because I think one of the reasons why Gavin Newsom and the deep state cabal are passing all these craziness is because they know the elections are going to get repaired. So what do? If they can drive all the conservatives out of California, now in their mind, legitimately, they can actually win elections, right? So I would suggest that conservatives be moving back in here. We need as many conservative voices here to save California. In regards to AB 495,
well, and Lewis, explain what AB 495 is, because some people that live in other
Absolutely.
states, they don't really know what it is.
So the proposal was the Democrats in the California legislature put together a bill called AB 495, and they said it was for to protect illegals and have somebody be able to pull somebody out of school or claim them. It's a total game. But if you really read the language in there, anybody can go into a school and say and claim a child and literally remove them out of school. Say, I am now their guardian for the day or whatever it is. So the good conservative voices that were really concerned about child trafficking really jumped on this. And they said, wow, this is horrible. This is an easy way to child traffic, and so on and so forth. And they're 100% right. But I think there's a hidden agenda here that people haven't talked about. I want everybody to think about how sinister this is. So you have the liberals faction saying, "Oh, this is just to protect illegal immigrants," or I'm sorry, they wouldn't call them illegal, though, would they? But this is to protect illegal immigrants. And then you have a conservative faction, the ones that are more awake, or said, "Hey, you can steal a child with this." But here's what's sinister and hidden in the middle. Think about this. You bring your child in to a doctor's office, and the nurse is trying to vaccinate your child, and you say, "No, we don't do that. We're not interested in your vaccinations." They now can go to your school, which they already know where your child is in school. They can claim your child. They can force vaccinate your child. By the way, there's medical language in AB 495, so you guys should reread it. They can force vaccinate your child, and they can put your child back in. I think that was probably the true agenda, because there's a huge pushback about vaccinating children right now. So how do they combat that? Is they force vaccinate them, and according to their law, and let's talk about their law, because we live in a parallel society. According to their law, they can rip your child out of school and do whatever they want with them. I think this is about anti-medical freedom, and of course, child trafficking.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, when 1 in 12 boys now have autism, and most of this goes back to vaccinations. In California now, it's 72 vaccinations from birth until they're 18, and so that's ridiculous. More and more people are pushing back. That's a very good point, Lewis. I never thought about that. And so we have to stand up against this tyrannical government. The government was supposed to be a servant of the people, and it's become, dictators. And that's why, a lot of people have said, well, California, just let them fall into the ocean. I mean, I'm from Minnesota and I lived in Texas. So I lived in 3 different demographics of the country, but it's the United States of America, people. We are united, the 50 states. We have to believe in every state. In California, there's 40 million people here. And as goes California, goes the nation. Most of the greatest revivals have started in California.
Yep.
Because moves of God have started out here, because I believe people that come here to dream, they come here, the whole song California Dreamin', they come here to start over, to go west. I mean, the whole gold rush in California, in the 1800s. In fact, I'm doing my 7th Open the Heavens. Let's put up that flyer really quick. It's going to be just next week coming up, everybody. And it's going to be on November 1st. And it will be and I know some people go, why are you doing it at the Scottish Rites Masonic Lodge? Well, let me tell you this. We're putting a stake in the ground. We're going into the territory, and we're taking back what is God's. There is a church that's been meeting there for 7 years, and on Sunday has 1,000 people coming. So God is doing things in San Francisco. We've got Pastor Dave Bryan, who actually, he endorses Lewis, and we've got, of course, Chuck Pierce. I don't know if you know who Apostle Chuck Pierce is, but a major man of God, actually out of Texas, Glory of Zion. He is one of these men that really understands the timings of God. And he told me, Lewis, that in order to take California back, you'll have to get 4 cities, in particular, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Sacramento. And I believe that day there's going to be an open heaven that we are going to decree and declare. And I'm going to be sharing my film there, Freedom Cry. And then we have Cheon. I know Cheon is running for governor too. And then we have Lou Engle, has been one of these gentlemen. In 2000, Cheon and Lou Engle went to the mall in Washington, D.C. with over 400,000 young people. And they did something that God spoke to them to do. It's called The Call. And they've had thousands of people coming together, repenting and fasting. And so we're going to have a number of people there. It is free, but if you want to get a VIP, we've extended it till October 28th. It's $177. Normally it's $20 more. You get 10% discount. Getting VIP, you get special seating, VIP by the front, underground parking, and a buffet banquet luncheon, as well as meet and greet with the speakers. And it's going to be amazing, because at the end, we do a fire tunnel. We pray over everybody at the very end of the night. And so we're not just there to we will be streaming this as well on my Rumble channel. But anyway, come out to this event as well as go to the event on November 8th with Lewis Herms and a number of the people that are running for governor. Pastor Cheon will be there, and Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco and a number of the other ones that are running. But Lewis is, one of the ones that we're standing with. He's a mighty man of God. So you can take that down. But anyway, Lewis, as we close out, you can go to MeriCrowley.com to get that, ticket to register. You can register. You don't have to register, but we just asked. It kind of helps us to know. But right now, we're almost sold out of VIP. So try to come. That helps us underwrite the cost of the event as well. And we do have some sponsors available. That's on the website, MeriCrowley.com. If you can put that up on the website, MeriCrowley.com, you can go there and you can get VIP or register for free or become a sponsor. $5,000 gets a table of 10. Also, your name's in the sponsor program with an 8-foot table. 2,500, 5 VIPs, sponsor table, and your name in the program, as well as 1,000 gets you 2 VIP sponsor table and name of the program. So really helps out. So anyway, we're just coming up to the push point, and we're wanting everyone in San Francisco. And just to notice this, I know we talked a little bit before the program today, Lewis, and you said you were just in San Francisco. Everybody has this idea like, oh, it's so bad. Well, President Trump actually just sent the National Guard into San Francisco. But they've also, when President Xi came from China, he really cleaned up the streets. I mean, I've been there 4 times in the last 2 months, and it's really clean. Where this event is, it's in the West Portal area. So it's a residential area for the most part. So there's a lot of parking around there, and it's really clean. So people, you don't have to worry about like, oh, if I go there, what's going to happen? No, where we are, it's very clean. We're going to have some security, things like that. But what would you say when you went there? You were just there a few months ago.
Yeah, I was there. I was there recently, and I was there a few years ago, and I would walk the streets, and it was bad. It was really bad. And I was there a few months ago, and it was very clean. I didn't see a bunch of homeless running around. I was surprised, but then I remembered why. It's because Gavin Newsom cleaned it up for his president, which is Xi of China, and so that's who he cleaned it up for. So it works to our advantage now, and I believe he's pushed a lot of this over to Oakland, because I've been getting reports out of Oakland that it's really sad, Meri. It's really sad what are happening to the people in Oakland. So President Trump sending National Guard into San Francisco, and I believe they're probably going to just push over to Oakland, because that's where the real bad stuff is happening right now.
As we close out the show today, Lewis, there's a lot of people watching, and I think a lot of people can be armchair quarterbacks, where they're watching like a football game and, oh, why didn't that guy throw it over there? And why didn't he do this and that? But when you're in the game, it's a whole different animal. And so why don't you speak to those people on the bench that, just think that somebody else is going to do it. And, this is why you got in the game. I got in the game. We all have to get in the game, because let me tell you, they were pushing hard. We were this close to our country going down. And, we're not out of the woods. I mean, we're really at the beginning of the war.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I think the first thing that we have to understand is apathy is where the bad guys want us. They want us to be apathetic. They want us to be involved in our bread and circus. This is circus, by the way. The phone is circus. That's what circus is, right? If we just bury our heads in that, keep busy the whole time. But the reality is, the only way that we're going to take back our country, the only way, is for we the people to do it. Everybody has expected President Trump to come riding in on a white Pegasus, right, and just sprinkle fairy dust over everything, and it's going to be fine, right? Well, we have to own it. In fact, we have to personally own it and say, the reason why we're here today is probably something that I ignored. I ignored a lot of the craziness in Hollywood, and I ignored a lot of things. I spent so much time watching sports and doing other things where I wasn't really paying attention to what I needed to do. So we need to own it and understand it, and then we need to get involved. and maybe it's just an hour a week. Maybe it's as little as going out and mowing your neighbor's lawn because she doesn't have the capability of doing it herself. Maybe it's taking out the trash for a neighbor. Maybe it's connecting with people, right? Or maybe it's going down and getting people registered and convincing them that your vote can matter, but we need to turn out. There's so many things we can do, but we have to have conversations with people. We can no longer run away from conversations, and the conversations have to be the ones you don't want to have, because when we're uncomfortable, that's when we grow, and we have
Well,
to take.
Lewis, so many people, oh, I don't want to talk about religion or politics. It's like,
Mhm,
that was probably something the deep state put out there too. I
100%.
know that you went down to where the Pacific Palisades, where the fires were down there, which
Mhm.
that was by design as well. I mean, people think really there were just fires that just broke out. No, it was by design. It was a land grab. And
Yeah,
I went down
absolutely.
there and did some interviews. Why don't you tell you what you did down there?
So we noticed it was a land grab. So what I've done and my team has done for very, very many years, we see a problem. We don't say, "Oh, that's a problem." We're like, "Okay, can we make a difference? Can we have a solution?" So we turn the problem into a challenge, and then that challenge we find a solution. Can't doesn't exist in our vocabulary. So what happens is we looked at it and we said, "What could we do?" And then I had some people call me and said, "You know what you can do down there?" And they sent me an affidavit that was done in another state. And the affidavit was a claim of land. The reason why is because what the baddies are doing is they found a way to say, because you left your land because of the fire, therefore you have abandoned it and we can grab it from you. Wow. Can you imagine that? So
Yeah.
I had my attorney go through an affidavit. We rewrote the affidavit with the language that says, I did not leave my land because and am giving it up because there's a fire. I own this land. It's my property. I have an intention to come back here, either sell it or build on it. And then now what we do is we take that affidavit that's filled out with the proper information that says, here's your lot number, here's proof of ownership. And then we get that notarized and sent over to the LA County. So what happens is when these Chinese nationalists, by the way, they were reported to be all over the place. When the Chinese nationalists come in and try to take these properties, now they can't build contiguously, so they walk away. If they can't build completely 4, 5, 6 lots at a time, they have no use for it because they're trying to put in low income housing, right? So it's a beautiful way to do it. This is going to be up on our website very, very soon, where people can go up to hermsforcali.com or screwbiggov.com, and they could go click land. I want to claim my land. There'll be an affidavit that comes up there. You can fill it out. It'll be a fill form. That's what we're working on right now. It'll click to the place where you can actually look at your lot number, fill that in, and then it'll click over to a notary. You can get it notarized and send it in. We're doing it all for free. They probably have to pay for the notary, but that's between them and the notary. And but this is how we can make a difference. And we do several things like this every single year.
Yeah, no, I was down there. It was amazing, and there was like a few people that showed up, but we showed up. And
Hmm.
I did an interview, we put it out there. You think, well, it's a remnant. It's kind of like in Judges 6 with Gideon's army. God is going to use a remnant, I believe, to shift California and shift the country. But it's all hands on deck. Lastly, in regards to voting, a lot of people, like there's a primary, there's an election coming up here. There's a lot of people just don't vote. They might vote for the bigger ones, but then the littler elections, they don't vote for.
True.
And really, we have to show up en masse because there's been a lot of voting fraud, and yeah, it's a frog. They're voting for frogs, and they're stealing the elections. There become more selections than elections. We recalled Newsom, I believe, and
Absolutely.
they stole it back. So we have to, like, that's what they did with Trump. They were going to try to steal it, but there was so much massive turnout that they couldn't steal it. So lastly, as we close out with this last question, why do people need to stand up and really cast about their vote and their ballot?
Yeah, well they have to, because we need to, let's just assume the elections are still messed up. The more we overwhelm the vote, the harder it is for them to steal an election, right? And the evidence mounts so hard, and it's overwhelming for them. So there's a special election on November 4th coming up, and it's a vote no on 50. And what that is you have Newsom and his cronies are trying to redistrict so they can ace out a whole bunch of Republican and conservative legislatures and pretty much just they almost own the state anyways, but now they'll just blanketly wholesale own it where your vote really won't count anymore. So we have to go vote no on 50. Now I am concerned about that vote because the news media now is saying it's a 50-50 vote. Well, when they say a 50-50 vote, they already know they've stolen it because that's their excuse. So we really need to come out heavy for this right now. That's November 4th. I do believe, based on some conversations I've had, that there's some huge things coming to protect our 2026 election, and that's the election I'm in. And that's going to be epic if that comes to fruition.
Well, I know I've talked to Juan and different ones that I've interviewed, and Juan has said one of the things that President Trump really wants to, enact is to really make sure that it goes back to paper ballots, same day voting, put in certain protocols in place that get rid of these machines because these Dominion machines, Smartmatic. I remember I helped a friend of mine run for Congress down in San Diego. I don't even remember what years ago. It was the first year that the voting machines came out, and Ruben Garcia, and we were doing well ahead in the polls, and all of a sudden we're watching the returns come in, and he was ahead, and then it didn't show anything. This was just in the primary, and Lewis, and it was like all these other ones were coming in. You could see, and then it was a long time before they reported on Ruben's race, and the next thing you know, it flipped it. And he was way down, and we go, wait a minute, something just happened. And that was the first year they had the machines in California. And so right from the beginning, they started using those machines and flipping it the bad way. And, it was our vote counts, people. We have to rise up and stand up. So anyway, so Lewis, once again, can they find you? You're going to be there November 8th. It's going to be down in San Diego at Awaken Church, correct?
Yep, that's where the debate is, and we have the rally before then. That's a rally with all you awesome people with music, and then I'll be speaking at the rally. I'm the featured speaker. Well, it is my rally, so I guess I would be the featured speaker, right?
But is that at the church too? Is that the church?
That is at the church in the morning. So we have the first 4 hours in the morning from 8 to 12, and it's going to be epic.
Right. And I'll be there. There's going to be a number of other people that are going to be there doing interviews. And I know he talked about Scott McKay and, so many different other ones that'll be there. Give a list of who's going to be there at your rally, just so people can hear.
Mark Messina, Mark Abrams, Michael Jaco, Dr. Layla Ali, Michelle Peterson, Kathy O'Brien, Laura Worley, Joe Rosati, Mark Z, Scott Long, Meri Crowley, there she is, Fem Miller, Deepak, Scott McKay, Adam Vina, Tom Cash, Jeff Stink, Lance Shuttler, and Bruce Poppy.
So we're all going to be there. So we need to show up, everybody. Get down there. You can go to hermsforcali.com and register there, right? And if they want to buy a debate ticket, they can also do that there as well, correct?
Yep, just on the events page, both of them will be right there.
Okay. Anyway, thank you, Lewis, for coming on. And also, just to remind you, you can go to mericrowley.com, go to my event November 1st up in San Francisco, California Dreamin'. It's called Open the Heavens, Keys to the Golden Gate. And I know on that night, it's the day before is, I don't even like to ever focus on Halloween, because actually October 31st was the Reformation Day when Martin Luther attacked the 95 Theses on the door of the chapel in Wittenberg, Germany, and the Reformation began. So Satan has taken that day, and now Halloween has almost become as big as Christmas. And I would say don't celebrate Halloween. It's a demonic holiday. I just had Pastor Dave Bryan on my Hollywood Zoom last night, and he talked about all the reasons why you should not celebrate Halloween. But Pastor Dave will be at my event and many others on November 1st, which is All Saints Day. So you guys come to my event too. November 1st, you go to my website, register for free, or get your VIP ticket as well. There's not many left. So God bless you. Thanks for watching. Now is the time. And we all have to take action. Like We're here in LA. You know, the old saying is lights, camera, action. It's time to move. No more distraction. It's time that we now have to see that this is the greatest show in history that God is going to roll out, and he's going to bring us in for this is the season that we will now win. Amen. Well, thank you, Lewis, for coming out. Thanks for watching. Now is the time. Please follow, share, hit the notification bell. And actually, if you make comments, it actually helps the algorithms.
Oh, yeah.
And because they've tried to shadow ban us. Lewis and I talked about this. They've tried to shadow ban us. All of a sudden, why are we stuck at like this? You know, we were growing, and all of a sudden we're stuck like at a certain thing. And God said, don't you notice that, Lewis?
Yeah. Well, it's happened. I went through a 2-year period on Rumble where my number was exactly the same, which is probably mathematically impossible, right? And on X and everything else. But you made the great point. Commenting is huge. So if you have 0 followers, your comment is just as valued as somebody with 1 million followers. That's why a comment is so important for people. Don't think you can't make a difference. A comment makes a difference.
Yeah, you can even just say hi.
Right.
You know, you can say thank you, or you know, you can just use one word. But if you make a comment, it really, and then we see it, and it helps us to think, well, wow, they're following. And because it's a mind game with the enemy, he wants to think that nobody's watching or listening, and that's not true. And God said to me, it's not how many in it's not how many views, and not how many in the pews, but he just said you can't lose if you just keep on going, and it's one at a time. So that's what we're doing. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what we're doing. So listen, thanks for watching. Please follow us, hit the bell, and also make a comment. So thanks, Lewis. I'll see you on November 8th, and I'll see some of you at November 1st up in San Francisco, or we'll be streaming it as well. God bless you guys. The best is yet to come. See you soon.